was the news, the military news from the 20th of January 1945 told us that the Russian army was already in Neidenburg. That has another name now too.
How far away was that?
That was close to Allenstein, where I went to high school. But at that time I wasn't there anymore, you know.
But it was like, what, a half an hour away by train?
No, it was further away. I would say
An hour?
hour and a half. Mm-hmm. So then on the 21st, in the afternoon canvas by my friend Edith and her mother Edith and her mother came to us. She knew where. She had been there doing a summer vacation in Dachau, so she knew how to get there. And they came from Allenstein. Why they came back? See, they had been in the west. That was her mother's sister lived in the western part of Germany. They had been there and went back home again to the east.
Why did they come back?
Well, we often wondered because they wanted to see what happened to their furniture and their apartment and all that. That was a dumb idea. So then they had to leave there before the Russians got them. So they came to us.
But if they wouldn't have come, you wouldn't have known?
Oh yeah.
You would have known anyway?
Yeah, I would have known, yeah, because we saw all the refugees coming through town. When I went to Danzig to school, which was only a very short time, I saw them all coming. My goodness, they looked horrible. They looked just terrible. Because most of them came by horse and buggy and had to load there whatever they wanted to load to be saved. They had to load that all in wagons. It reminded me of when people here went to the west, you know, covered wagons like. And anyway, the reason why we left so late was because my father didn't want us to flee. And that was, I often told him that later on. I said we should have left long before that, because we knew my uncle had told us if the Russians move into East Prussia, we should come to Oberammergau, where he was married to my aunt Rita in Oberammergau, which is Bavaria. But he didn't want us to leave. So then he wanted to wait for an order from the city, an order to leave. Nobody even ordered anything. You were up on your own.
Were other people leaving at that point?
Yeah, I saw them leaving. Mm-hmm. Then on the 26th of January, the Russians were already across the Stula River in Marienburg.
Which is how far away?
Just across the river. And the biggest, at that time it was the biggest railroad crossing, bridge at that time of Europe. It was the largest bridge, because I'm going to mention that later. I was standing in the morning at the baker shop to get some bread. And there I saw too how how people were fleeing with horse and buggy and frozen. It was such a cold day. I saw them moving through there to get to the western part.
But the baker shop was open.
Yeah, it was open. But
did they flee then, the baker?
Well, I guess, unless they were Polish and they stayed, you know. Polish people stayed, hoping that the Russians wouldn't hurt them.
Did they?
And I don't know. I just had no idea. Because we were strangers, it was just a bakery shop. We didn't know each other, that, you know. In between I saw terrible looking, tired German soldiers on foot, or in wagons, or on bicycles. soldiers, yeah, it was a horrible picture. All of a sudden my brother Norbert comes running. We are going, we are going. He was yelling, almost with, his head was just mixed up. But anyway, and then I couldn't believe it. But then I went with him, but I never got to go back home again because I met them with baggage on the way to the railroad station. So I never got back home again.
I thought did you say you packed?
I packed, yeah, that was good. Otherwise we wouldn't have had nothing.
So you packed even though not, the rest of your family wasn't accepting yet that you would be leaving?
My father wasn't, no, my mother did.
But you packed up as much as you could, clothing?
Clothing, mainly clothing. And
what about food?
A few sandwiches only.
Did you have money to take
Yeah,
along?
they took German money. That was in the currency at that time. It was Reichsmark. That was under Nazi time. Money changed all the time, The currency changed all the time.
Well, for your father, it would have been hard to leave because he had the job. When you leave, then what do you do then?
Well, then you will just lose everything. But where he worked, that was in the middle of town, we stored the packages that I had packed. It was there. Otherwise we wouldn't have made it. It would have been too heavy because from where he worked to the railroad station was not far.
That's why he put him there.
But I put him there.
You put him there.
Because he didn't want to leave.
Your mother didn't? What was your mother's opinion about that?
Well, she went along with me, but it was,
So you were the one that had to take charge.
Mm-hmm.
Did your brothers realize what was going on?
No, not really. They didn't care. Because Norbert was 4 years younger, he didn't care.
And how old were you now?
15.
So you, well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Keep reading.
I could hear the cannons blasting away in Marienburg. That's where the castle is. So they were that close, just across the river. But my father thought this river is going to keep the Russian army away. It didn't do anything. But the First World War, it did happen that the Russian army didn't cross over, and the western part of Germany then was saved. In the First World War they did, but now this time it didn't mean
They had
anything.
ships ready?
Sure.
Or?
Mm-hmm. Boats and then anything they could get. Once in a while I saw some of our people from Dachau. They were all fleeing also. And we picked up our packages from my father's station there where he worked. Everything went so fast I could hardly think about anything. Then my father said, the next train leaves at 9 o'clock, and it was already 8:30. So we hurried as fast as he could run. Well, he couldn't run, but he walked to the railroad station. Then it was, at this railroad station, it was just full of fleeing people. And the train was standing there, but it was so full we couldn't get in. Because with our packages, which everybody had some packages, you couldn't get in at all, not through the doors. But then there were some people that went through windows, but they lost their packages, they couldn't get the packs, suitcases, whatever, through the window. Then we found out that the next train leaves in 2 hours. So there we were on that cold station. It had a cover. It didn't, the snow didn't fall on us, but it was ice cold. there because the wind went through there. So we waited for 2 hours. It was so cold, although the sun was shining. Once in a while, we went into the waiting room. They had a waiting room. The train was still standing there, and people went through the windows to get in. Where the train was going, nobody knew.
You didn't have to buy tickets even?
No.
Was it just they were just going? Yeah.
It was free up to Berlin. From Berlin on up, we needed tickets because from Berlin it was still normal times, the timetable. Everything was normal from then on, after Berlin, to go south or west. So there we needed tickets, but we had enough money.
But this train runs, they were doing this knowing that they were just trying to get people out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, but then we got another, and then we saw more nuts. Later on I corresponded with them from Dietrichsgut. They were 5 days by foot to get to the railroad station where we went. By foot, that's through high snows and not enough clothing on, no food. And they looked horrible. I did bring some water to them, and at 12 o'clock the train left.
Okay.
But I did bring those friends of mine some water, and yet at 12 o'clock that train left. But it was about 3 o'clock and we were still standing on a platform. All of a sudden I saw people leaving. There were 2 railroad stations in Dachau. One of them went to the south, like it would be Poland, and that was called Bromberger Bahnsteig, Bromberger Bahnhof. So we had to run over there, and we went right after where the people ran, we ran. There was a train for mother and child, like a Red Cross train, which was good. And that was almost full already, but we could get in, all of us. The packages we threw into the toilet, and
What packages?
Well, the ones that we saved, with the clothing in.
You couldn't take your clothing?
No, we had packages that we picked up at my father's workings.
Yes, and you had to do what with them?
Threw in a toilet. Toilet, the small toilets they have in trains?
Yeah.
Well, we had to put them there.
Oh, because to make room, you mean?
Make room,
okay.
Yeah. Because it was a first class wagon where they have a hallway, and then where you sit goes off the hallway. But we couldn't get no place there. But my mother could sit down with Norbert. She held Norbert on her lap. But Boone and I, we were in the hallway. But we were all happy that we were finally inside. In the meantime, the sun went down, and finally the train left. But we went backwards onto the bridge. That bridge there, the biggest bridge over the Studer River. So there we were standing for half an hour, and people started to talk about that. They thought it's going to be blown up with us, the bridge, because they wanted to destroy the bridge so that the Russian army couldn't get across. So we thought they had put us there backwards onto the bridge so that they can blow us up and the bridge. So that was something too to go through. So there we were standing for half an hour. We could look over the town for the first time. Then we finally left. Then it stopped already again. And that was the next town, Hohenstein. In the meantime, it became night. In Behrendt, there was another town. I never was there before, you know. Bülow, it was already the second night. The babies were screaming because there was no milk. It was very ice cold in the hallway where Bruno and I sat. On a sack, we were somebody's sack. It was soft to sit on there, but it wasn't ours, you know. And you could not think about sleeping at all. So there we sat, pretty soft on that big sack, whoever it was. And the water was standing in that hallway to almost over my feet. And since that time, my legs swelled up. It was that, I think it did that, swelling my feet up.
Why was the water there?
Because they peed.
Oh my.
They could get into the toilet. My feet were wet, and I could feel that my legs were like dying off from the cold. Because there was no heat there. They wanted to save the coals, you know, for the engine. Then to all of this came that stink from the urine. Because nobody could get to the toilet. Bruno and I tried to get to the toilet. We went on that narrow windowsill. It was very narrow, not more than this. But we tried to get to the toilet. And when we got there, it was frozen high up. The pee was frozen all the way up in the toilet. So nobody went there. So the kids and everybody peed in that hallway there. When the train just stopped all the time. We didn't know how long anymore. In Bülow, we could get out. We could get out because the Red Cross had coffee, soup and bread. It was our first meal. So Bruno and I, my mother couldn't make it. She just stayed there, you know. She was exhausted for one thing. She had started her nervous breakdown then because of leaving home.
Yeah, because she should have been hungry.
Yeah. Then we bought sandwiches for them too. But my father wasn't with us. He was in they had a wagon for veterans. And he could get in there.
Yeah, because you said that one was for women and children only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they didn't want him to come in. And then somehow he was able to talk himself into that Red Cross part. Mm-hmm. The train stopped every so often and nobody knew for how long, so you couldn't get out, you know. You were afraid that it would leave without you. And that happened to a lot of people. They got torn apart that way. In Bülow, we could get out, and that's where we got some coffee. That was the make-believe coffee, soup and bread. Then we went further. The same night we went ahead. Then we went to Schievelbein. I don't know what they call it now. If we were in Bülow for 2 nights or 1 night and 1 day, I do not know. Anyway, it was during the day when we got into Schievelbein. They took us to a dead track. First they said everybody should get out. And then again it said the train will go to Berlin, and that's where we wanted to go. And maybe even a little further. So we stayed overnight in the train, although it was cold and didn't go. And then in between, we were able to get into an apartment. Finally, we could sit down out of that hallway. But even there, it stank something terrible. Then, in the morning, we went to NSV. That was a Nazi organization, but it was under the Red Cross. In the afternoon, they said everybody out of the train. So the last couple of wagons were unhooked. Then they finally told us the ones that do not have a place to go to. We did, because we wanted to go to Amagon. He said those that didn't have a place to go to, they should stay in. So most people stayed in. So then the train went to one station backwards to Bad Polzin. So we stood again on outside on the gang there, and we're waiting for a train to go to Berlin. But no train came. It would be night again. So then we went to the Babymoon. They had one, and it was nice and warm. Finally, we got warmed up. Then we found a table. We could at least put our heads down on the table and fell asleep. That was the first time since our flight began, that I really did sleep. I was so bad tired, I guess. The next day we went, Bruno and I went to go to the next closest store to get bread, sausage, Karnbars, that's my girlfriend's, and her mother, we lost. They went on their own. They didn't even look what happened to us at all. So that's French for you. Then Papa wanted to go to the city to get a shave, but it was too long for him to wait. Bruno and I went back to the railroad station. All of a sudden my mother came running toward us and said, "We are going, we are leaving to Berlin." So we brought our packages to the train, and we even found a wagon where we could, at least my mother could sit down.
Your father was there then too?
No, not yet. We sent Bruno over to the, it's a wonder he found it, where the barber shop was, because that wasn't close to the station. But it was good that the train didn't leave just then. It was even standing there in the afternoon yet, so Papa could have had his shave, but then Papa and Bruno came back without a shave. Then there was a lot of nights yet till we finally got into Stargard. That was a little closer to Berlin.
Did you have food during that time? By stopping for the
By
Red
stopping.
Cross?
Yeah. That's the only time, and it was amazing because everybody was on ration cards, you know. We didn't even need the ration cards, but since we were refugees, they served that. It was the Red Cross that did that. It was under Nazi direction, but it was the Red Cross that did that. There were always women there with their caps and with the Red Cross there. From Stargard on, it went pretty fast. After Stettin, we arrived in Berlin in the forenoon. We went to Anhalter Bahnhof. You know, Berlin has a lot of stations too. And gave our packages to, you know, where you put your packages. We put it there, so trusting. But we got it all back, even though the bombs were flying like crazy. But we could not, you could hardly tell it was packages anymore or suitcases. That's how horrible they looked. It was more leftovers, like. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we wanted to get to a fast train to Augsburg, that's the western part of Germany, and then across from the station was a Café Excelsior. That was a refugee camping place, like they collected refugees there, and that's where we went. It was very nice there, and we got something to eat there too, and we could warm up again. Boone and I went around. We wanted to see something of the city, so we walked around there. That was dangerous. It was stupid that we did that because it was bombed all the time. But all we could see was really all destroyed houses and with no windows. There was just holes there from the bombs, you know. And the electric wiring was all laying down on the floor. You had to watch where you walked. It was all down on the street. And glass from the windows and holes. That's all we saw from Berlin. At 11 o'clock, the alarm went. Boone and I were out on the street. So we ran to, they had a bunker. That's what they did wonderful, I think. Right aside of railroad stations, they had built bunkers where the people that lived around the railroad station could save themselves from bombs, you know, because their homes.
So when the alarm went, that meant what? Bombing was starting?
Mm-hmm. That the planes were on their way. So then, so we went to this bunker. I think at that time we didn't even know where my parents were. And this bunker was pretty full already. And it didn't take long, then we heard it, not rattle, but big noises. And we knew the bombs were flying, you know. And all of a sudden, when we were down there, 3 huge explosions. All the people screamed, and the lights were flickering, and what you call it, this, you know what they cover the walls with, calcium or whatever that is.
Like lime?
Lime, like that was coming down in sprinkles. Later on, when we got out, we saw that the bunker, that 3 bombs had fallen right onto this bunker. And all it did was squeeze the iron doors. That's how it was built, you know. The bombs jumped off this bunker.
Wow.
All it did was the iron doors folded.
Mm-hmm.
And what did it look like outside when we went out? The sun was all filled with smoke. And it was burning in every corner. After the railroad station, the whole railroad station was burning. On the right side of that Hotel Excelsior, all the windows were knocked out and no trains were running. Then I remember that my birthday was today, the 3rd of February. And in the news, it said that England was planning a big attack on Berlin. Oh, that they did attack Berlin. That was the biggest attack when we were there. Bomb attack. So we did sleep there the following night, and we also went back to the station, and what do you know? We got our baggages, although the whole station was on fire.
Oh my.
This station was a beautiful station, must have been at one time. It had a glass roof. You could see the sun through the glass roof. And that was still there. It wasn't bombed.
How did you get your packages when it was on fire? It was just in where you left them, or somebody put them out, or?
No, it was still there. They are so efficient in their bureaucracy that even the people that took care of that were still there too.
Oh my.
So we got our packages. Other people had to drag their packages along.
Yeah, you think everybody would have been running?
Yeah. And finally we got into a train, and this one took us south, where we wanted to go anyway. In Jüterborg we stayed overnight. Then we went to Halle, which is Saxonia. It was not destroyed very much. And then further to Leipzig, and from there we went to Hof, and then to Augsburg, and then to Weilheim, and finally, after 12 days of horrible traveling, we landed in Oberammergau. See, there the trains went, after Berlin they went on time, you know. That's where we needed the tickets to.
Was there any bombing or anything going on in Oberammergau?
Not Oberammergau, they saved that. They saved Garmisch and Oberammergau.
You mean they didn't want to bomb there? Why? Why not?
It had something to do with Eisenhower. He stayed in Garmisch because of the Gulf. They had.
At that time he was there, you mean?
No, not yet, but
he was coming?
He was coming. He stayed there in what they call a villa. It's a beautiful house. Of course he wasn't by himself, there was adjutants or whatever. Because I had to dry clean or press his uniforms. And this adjutant came every second day. There was nothing dirty on his uniforms, but he wanted them pressed. So I pressed them. So finally we landed in Oberammergau. And there we found my Aunt Lucy, my grandfather, and my cousin, Siegbert. They had come there 1 week before because the Russian army moved into Allenstein before they came to Dachau, you know. So they left in time, by train too. The train still went at that time they still went on time, timetable. So they went to Obamagao but that was the reason why Tante Rita couldn't take us. She said it was too full, and she was afraid that we are bringing sickness home, or lice, or fleas, from not being washed, I can hardly blame her, but...
What did you do?
Well, then, she talked about this Red Cross in Garmisch. So then we got a bus, because the buses still ran on schedule. And then we went to Garmisch, and here is where we went. We were one of the first refugees that came from the east, and we found a place in a school, in a girls' school. There were lots of people in that school. Each one got a cot, which was just low, and a blanket.
And this was the Red Cross?
This was more the Nazi. It was not Red Cross then.
They gave you food though too? They gave you food too?
They gave us ration cards, and we went, the restaurant was right across from where we stayed at the school. So we got some free meals there with the ration card. And since we were kids, we got a little more than my parents. So that's how we got our food then. It was a good hot meal. Every time I go to Garmisch, I look at this restaurant, because it has memories.
Is it still a restaurant?
Mm-hmm. It was last time. So we were hoping we soon would get an apartment. And these were the days I will not forget. And that's the end of it.
That's good that you kept that.
Mm-hmm. Well, my father did send it.
So then what happened? You found the apartment, and was that the apartment?
That was not right away. By that time I started to work for the army dry cleaning, and I found cigarettes, like the soldiers leave cigarettes in their pockets in the uniforms, and I checked every uniform, every pocket, and collected the cigarettes. For one thing, my father didn't have no tobacco. He smoked a pipe. So I actually collected those cigarettes for him so he could fill his pipe. But then there were some left over. Sometimes they had a whole pack. It was stealing, but they had plenty of smokes, So sometimes I found a whole pack. And that saved us. My mother went that was the Red Cross station again in Garmisch at the town hall. She went with cigarettes. And somehow she could manage to get us 2 rooms. They didn't like the people that owned the house in Frühlingsstraße didn't like to have anybody coming into their home. They never had any children. It was an older couple. And they had to give it to refugees. So we paid some rent, but not very high. But it didn't have a stove in it, to cook. And then we had ration cards again till this whole year yet, 1945, we had ration cards. So we could buy. Then all of a sudden, after the war was over in May, the bakeries were full of bread, which we couldn't get before. There was a lot of black markets going on. People that came out of concentration camps made their money that day. They could get, because they were in concentration camps, they got extra rations on bread and things, and they exchanged that stuff for money or jewelry, things like that. And people were so poor they needed to eat, so they exchanged good jewelry for a loaf of bread and potatoes. So, but it's good I collected these cigarettes, because that's the way we got these two, and they were empty rooms, really. And the landlord, first they didn't want us at all, but they had to give us 2 rooms because we were 5 people. And it was just this very small amount of rent that and then the money was not worth anything then anyway, because Nazi time was over. So then, because I worked for the army, I could get a hot meal. I worked for dry cleaning, where I pressed Eisenhower's uniforms. We got 1 hot meal in the next hotel. Roter Hahn was the name of that hotel. And that was good. And there's where I saw, that's where I saw what the army wasted. They were the victors. So they had birthday parties in that hotel, and they had big birthday cakes, and I thought, oh my goodness, what are they doing? They had so much cake there and so much food. They stuck their cigarettes, instead of using ashtrays, stuck it into the cake, so that the German people couldn't get any. See, they were nasty too. Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself, if I only could have 1 little piece of that cake, But they did that all on purpose. Then in the meantime, my 2 brothers went up into the mountain in Garmisch. There was a camp there that was for youngsters. They even taught school there, and we were not finished with schooling either, But I had to work anyway. I had to earn some money. That's why I worked there for the army, and got that hot food. Once in a while I could get a piece of bread or something. I took it along home, or a sandwich. And we kept on living in those 2 rooms. And that was kind of tight too. First we had to find out where to get beds. We didn't have nothing. And a stove so that my mother could cook. So then my mother met somebody, but in the meantime she was in Munich in a mental institution because of her nervous breakdown. And there she met a woman that was living in the next town to Garmisch, in Greinau. And she says she has a stove that she can't use. Bruno and I went to the neighbor and got a wagon to pull, 4 wheels, to pick up the stove, which was in the next town, which was quite a distance to walk. And of course we didn't have a car or anything like that. So Bruno and I went there, and this woman, we paid her for the stove because although it was in her way, she didn't need it because she got a newer one, I guess. She was a refugee too, and got a room in Greinau. That's where we had to go, from Garmisch to Greinau. So we picked up the stove, and it was kind of heavy. For both of us it was very heavy, even with that wagon on, having a stove on top of this wagon. So we walked quite a distance to get to those 2 rooms that we had on Frühlingsstraße. How we transported that because we were living on the 2nd floor, how we transported that over 2 staircases that went down the corner, I don't know, maybe somebody helped us to carry this because Bruno and I were actually too weak. My father couldn't do it either. So we went up with that stove into that, what we called then a kitchen. And my mother was really happy to get that stove so she could start to cook. We didn't have much to eat, but still we could cook. She could cook what the ration cards gave us. Potatoes mainly.
But you said your father was working?
Yeah, in a motor pool. He worked in a motor pool painting U.S. Army things on the outside of the trucks and jeeps. And
so he worked for the Americans, and so did you in the dry cleaning plant.
That was good because they paid more than a German. There were no German firms around, except for the dry cleaning. That was a German firm, but they had to work for the army, where I pressed Eisenhower's uniforms and all that. And anyway, the little money came in. And then my father, when he had time, he did some painting and tried to sell that too. So here we had a stove that was good, because food was expensive if we could get it at all.